that's one of the reasons why I do admire you, Lauren, because you are for the people.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? You really walk the walk. I've seen you in action.
Thank you.
So growing up, you always wanted to be a lawyer?
No, probably. I had some ideas about, because I wanted to be Angela Davis. I can tell you that. My mother used to.
Did you have the afro?
Absolutely. If you don't stop acting out, I'm going to cut your hair. So I would, straighten up then, because I really wanted this big, massive afro. So we were going through the great times of the 60s and 70s where everything was just, we were going through some great periods. There were causes, the Vietnam War, there were issues, decentralization of schools. All of that was happening, where these were all my role models,
right.
With Angela Davis posters.
Power to the people,
yes,
Tom.
Power to the people, yes. All of them.
Yeah.
Soledad Brothers,
yes.
I was reading the books back and forth. So those were the impressionable times, and therefore that's what created the Lauren today, to help, to give back, to try to make things better for people and make things better for people that don't have as much as you have. So that is my mission, and I think that came directly from that period.
Right. So you were born
less selfish.
Less
selfish.
You know what? And we need to talk about that, because the generation now is just so selfish. And I always say my generation was the last of the Mohegans. I was born in the 70s, early 70s. You know, so it seemed like generations after that, like the X, the Y's, the Z's, and the triple A's, they are so selfish and kind of self-centered, and I don't know if that has something to do with I was going to say the rap music or the stuff that they're listening to. This is why I hear elder people saying, I never really questioned it. I never really agreed that it's the music that they're listening to, but now I'm getting older, and now I am starting to question, is it the music that they're listening to? But the ones that's making the music, where are they getting this information from, to put it in the music? Like, where is all of that? I hope I'm not straying off of the subject here, but
I don't know. You're the host.
I love Lauren. I don't know if
the host is straying. It's your show.
But you know what? They all know me. I stray a lot. You know what it is? Because I know you a wealth of information, and I'm just in my brain, in my head, in Kim's world. I'm like, you know what? She says selfishness. Let's talk about these kids. You know what I'm saying about selfishness? I do believe this generation of kids show a lot of selfish behavior. And I hear the elders, talk about it's that music that they
elder?
No, not you. No, not you. You're not the. I'm talking about the elders.
I think I'm pretty young.
The elders talking about it's that music. It's that rap music, and that's the devil's music, and all this other stuff. I want to hear your take on. I know, here it come, y'all. On rap music and how it plays a part in the children's behavior of today.
The world according to Lauren Raysor. So let me just make it clear that it was a generation ago that we had rap music that was in my community. Rap music came from the streets that I grew up in. A lot of folks don't...
Which streets did you grow up in?
Washington Heights and Harlem community. Many of the rappers came out of... the hip-hoppers or rappers came out of a struggle at that time. For example, you have Kool Moe Dee, you had a few of the other artists, I can't remember some of the names, but Raheem. A lot of those old-school rappers that were the beginning of rap music came through a generation of my generation, where it was about the fun, it was about the music, it was about the commitment, it was about telling a story that was important to the community, it was about all of that. And I remember working in a record company, and they're saying rap would never stay, and we said rap would stay.
Right.
Okay, so the fact of the matter is rap came from a history where it was a lot more intellectual, it talked about major issues, and that's where it started. Now this has turned into something called hip-hop. which is
Okay.
it's more mainstream.
Right.
The rap of the generation. You have other rappers here. You have Common. You have a few others that
Most
are
Def.
pretty. Yeah, they're pretty serious
Mm-hmm.
rappers. And even Tupac. I mean, Tupac and Biggie Small. When you listen to them and some of their music, some of it has. Which Tupac was always a person that was complex because he had serious rapping about the neighborhoods and the community, like his talking about his mother and what he went through. And then he had the nice music, I'm going to shoot and kill everybody in the neighborhood. So that was the complexity of a Tupac. He came from Tupac Shakur, and from that, I think he had this complexity. The problem with what happened was rapping started when the money was being made. Okay, that's when rap took a different turn.
Right.
It was so much money that was made. It was
Right.
You were on the cutting edge of making millions.
And everybody wanted a gold rope chain.
Well,
They
these were.
want-
It's not. This is a new generation of money. It happens to all of us. It's not
Okay.
just the rappers. Once you
Okay.
get money, and it's a new generation of money, and it's money that you don't have anybody teaching you what to do. You're going to buy the gold. You're going to buy the watches. You're going to buy things that you haven't had in your entire life. So that's not new. The thing is, what it was that there were people that infiltrated and sold rap out for the money. And that's why rap has changed into this hip-hop where it's gone mainstream. White folks like it now and they can party to it. So rap has changed because the money game has changed.
Right. Do you think these rappers, rappers of today, are sellouts?
Depending on their definition, my definition is absolutely so. They may think that I am a person who is a sellout, or my generation may have sold out, but I think they sold out. I remember asking someone, would you call your mother or your grandmother a hoe for $50 million? And that was the question.
Wow.
Okay, would
Wow.
you call your grandmother a hoe for $50 million? Would you do it?
Wow.
So that question is for everybody out there. That question is for you. This question, what would you do for money? Would you sell that person out? Would you say that about your family for $50 million?
Isn't that something?
But
that's a really good question.
Well, that's the question.
Could you imagine? We got to you need to talk to Jay-Z about that, where he called Blue, Ivy Blue, that's his daughter name, a hoe for $50 million. That's powerful.
Well, the question is, what's the answer out there? And so we had a generation that sold out their community for that kind of money. They didn't have money. They were the poorest of the poor. They were not the cream of the crop of some of our communities. Some of them were. I'm not saying very well educated. Some of them were very well educated.
Yes.
But these were young people that wanted a shot at life and who wanted a chance. And if they could do it by either hustling with drugs, if they can do it by, stealing your TV set, if they can do it any way that they can, any means necessary. If some record company said, I'm going to give you a couple of million out of the box, and you just say this, that, and the other, and talk about bling, and talk about all kinds of things that you've been exposed to in this negative life of yours, if you can do that, we'll give you the money. Not many people are strong enough, particularly young people who don't have a choice. Not too many people are strong enough to take it. So what happened was we had a high level of exploiters, just like slavery.
Yes.
They came in our community, taking our people, getting them out with gold and silver, and taking our kids away from us by dangling these wonderful jewelries and cars and everything else.
Absolutely.
And they took them from us.
Yes. But, you said something about, they didn't have a choice. I believe there was a choice. We always have choices, Now, whether we know better or not, that's a whole nother story. But we have choices, Do you want the easy way or the hard way? You know what I'm saying?
Well, we have to redefine what success is, and we have to redefine what we really mean. So, for example, I agree with what you're saying. But there's an element out there that I really didn't understand. Some people, when you say you're poor, I had a family structure. I had a mother and father in the house. There are people that are going through heavier situations than that. Domestic violence, a lot of young men, child abuse, A lot of females, child abuse.
Right.
A lot of them are living. The story of Remy Ma, which is.
Oh yeah, we about to touch on that.
She was living in a shelter. She was kicked out of her house. That wasn't my experience. I had family that took us in. So you have people that are so desperate and destitute. That's doing that is their way out. There is no other way. If your mother kicked you out, you living on the street. Mm-hmm. You may not have the same options I have.
Right. You're right.
You may not.
You're right.
You may choose differently when you don't know where you're getting your next meal from. See, even though we were poor, we had a little bit. Okay. You know, even though we were poor, it was still a little bit. But there are people that don't even have what we had.
The structure, the family structure,
nothing.
Even of the father there or some kind of love.
Living on the street.
You mentioned Remy Ma. Remy Ma was one of the female rappers that I liked. I enjoyed her music, and I always felt that she never, got her true props, But I knew it was always something about her. She always had an angry kind of element to her. But I thought that was part of the,
genre of her rap.
Of her rap. You understand? And then I remember it came out in the news that she shot someone. She shot a girl. And I kid you not, I was really shocked. And it just totally turned my thoughts, my visions of her, what I thought she should be or that she represented. And I'm saying all that to say because I found out that you were actually the victim's lawyer.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Still am.
And you still are?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So how did that case land in your lap?
Well, actually, it was a family member who's a very good friend of mine.
Okay.
And I was on vacation in Florida. I had no idea who a Remy Ma was. And
you said a Remy Ma. You call her A, okay.
Remy Ma. Her name is Remy Smith.
Right.
And she, my friend called me and said, they need me back. They need me as soon as possible. That her niece had been shot and she's in the hospital. So I'm on vacation in Florida, and I said, well, I'm not going to be back until X, Y, and Z. And she said, look, we really need you up here. We need you because my niece may die, and she's in the hospital now. So I came back early to find out what was going on, and when I came back to my office, I started looking up who Remy Ma was and what actually happened. At that time, her aunt was only concerned about my client's safety and what could happen as a result of the shooting. I mean, it was an actual shooting. So obviously you would be fearful of any retaliation if my client were to come forward and talk about the case.
Yes.
So they were very fearful of that. And because they know my background, they brought me up, not just to be the lawyer, because that was the easy part, to be the lawyer. The hard part was protecting the client and making sure that she was represented in the news and represented in the papers fairly. So the rap community has a large, I call it, lobbying group now. They're one of the most powerful groups that are out there, which I have no problem with that. But my client, who was a victim, needed to have an advocate, and I came up to help advocate her position and make sure that there was evenness in reporting.
Right. I remember your client being on the news. Well, I heard on an interview on a radio station. I forget which one.
Miss Jones.
Oh, yes.
Hot 97.
Yes, it was Hot 97. Well, I wonder where Miss Jones at. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. I saw your face. You said.
Well, after the interview, she went to Pennsylvania.
Okay.
After the interview, she left the station.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
Okay, so then why?
I'm not sure what the background was. But I do know after that interview,
she was gone.
For some reason, she left. And I think she's at a station in Pennsylvania, but I'm not sure.
Wow, I want to know what she threatened.
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
Interested. But I remember that interview, and I heard her describe, how Remy Ma just shot her in the stomach, accused her of stealing something, and just left her there to die. And she went, it just broke my heart, being a woman of color. How could a woman shoot another woman that you claim that's your friend because you thought she stole something, or money, I believe. Was it money?
Yes.
From her. And whether she stole the money from her or not, you don't have a right to shoot someone. And that just let me know how angry Remy Ma really was, and how angry the rap community, like what they saying in their rap songs is for real. They really are feeling this stuff, and they really are going through these things. But your victim, at the time of the trial, was she experiencing threats and all this from Remy?
This is what I want to be able to say. First of all, my client did not steal any money, so
okay.
that didn't happen.
Okay,
and I want it unequivocally stated that never happened.
Okay,
and people were trying to put her out there as if she was a thief and so forth and so on, but it never happened. That's number one. Number two, I just want to be clear, Remy is one of the brightest women that are out there. That's out there. I've seen her writing. I've seen her recordings. I've heard her Bronx Files. I wanted to be clear that I know a lot about her, and I've listened to her. She's one of the most articulate, brightest rappers that are out there. But she blew it. She threw her life away for that one moment in time that you couldn't get control of your anger. So part of it is that hopefully she's learning a lesson because you made it out of the box. She made it out. She had a $1 million record deal, I believe, with Universal when she first came out. So she blew it. And unfortunately, my client is scarred, and then Remy's doing 8 years in jail. I come in because I'm a black woman also. And I have to say, between the two of them, enough is enough. I'm not going to be fearful of a Remy Ma because she looks like me. She's a sister like me. She could be my daughter. I've seen her in court the whole day, all the time that I was there. She's a fabulous looking young person. She had so much going for her. But sometimes what people do, if they're not doing well in their craft, if they're not really doing well in terms of what they need to do, because you need to focus on your music. You need to focus on your craft. When you start seeing people focusing on other silly stuff like did they take this, did they do this, that means something is happening with your own craft. So what she needed to do was pay attention and focus on her music, because that's really what we wanted. She had a beef with her own record company.
Yes.
That had nothing to do. That's the anger.
I remember that. That's what was going on at the same time.
That has nothing to do with Makeda, but it has something to do with your money, because maybe you had separated from Fat Joe and Universal had downsized you, and now, you have to scramble out there in order to make money, so maybe you were stressed. I don't know if that's the reason, but I just know that these are two chocolate sisters that had everything going for them, and each of them are scarred, and each of them are damaged, and it wasn't necessary. And then as a black woman, I have to take a stand and say enough is enough.
Right.
And I'm not going to be feared of you, because if I fear you, then that means you've taken away my freedom. So if I'm afraid of a rapper or somebody walking down the street in my own block, that means I'm no longer free.
Right.
And I'm going to be free.
Right. So during the court process, the trial, was it very intense?
Yes, it was.
It was. Oh, okay, it was.
It was incredibly intense.
Okay. Remy was there. She had her people. Were they intimidating?
Let me just say this. The most important thing for folks to understand, and particularly from me, I enjoy the music. It is no question. Right. Party hard. I enjoy the music. That's what it's about. It's about fun, making money, enjoying the music, and allowing people like all of us to enjoy the music, and creating an environment that will allow us to have our mothers and fathers send their children to your concert. That doesn't happen anymore because of the violence involved in it. So we would like so when we saw her and I saw her, you need to have a good time, because this is your age. You're in an age bracket that partying is okay. Having fun is okay. Making money, looking good. She had on fabulous boots and Prada shoes, and she was fabulous. There's no question about it. And I admire her because she's a beautiful, beautiful person. And you had it all, but you can't throw it away because of a temper tantrum. You just can't. So I'm a person who said, look, we had intensity in there. We weren't going to make this like, what happened in Brooklyn, where all of a sudden you begin to shift it and make my client the victim. You know, make my client the issue. Yes,
right.
We're not going to do that this time.
Okay.
We're going to make sure you're separated out. There's not going to be any fighting in court.
Right.
And I made it clear that the issues that are here are about the shooting and the shooting of my victim. It's not going to shift to my victim's family fighting or her boyfriend, Papoose, is in the courtroom fighting. I made sure that did not happen.
Okay, so you had to pull in bodyguards.
Yes.
You had the bodyguards to protect your client,
yes.
bodyguards to protect yourself.
Yes. I don't know whether I needed more for protection of myself, but making sure that the focus stayed on what the issue
was about.
Remy, you shot my client, and you have to be punished for doing that. That's what we're focusing on. Okay. And those children, I mean, the young people that testified at trial, that was an incredible thing that they did. I mean, you know, they testified against Remy at their great peril and out of great fear, but they did what they had to do, and I was proud of them in that way also. So, you know, that was, it was a terrible experience, but sure. it was... She met the right person at the right time. I could say that. Oh, wow.
I understand. So, yeah, she was convicted.
Yes.
8 years. She's coming out soon.
I think about 3.
Okay.
In about 3, unless they take off. They may take off, 2/3, so she may be out earlier. I'm not sure.
Okay. Any concerns about your client's safety?
No. I mean, you know, what it is what it is. I mean, I would make the statement that Michelle Obama made and she got her husband in trouble. Being a black woman and a black man, you're always taking your life in your own hand when you're walking outside. And I know people don't like that. So that she said that my husband could get shot going to the gas station, and they didn't like her saying it. But I'm going to say it. Being a person of color, it's a matter, you know, it can happen anytime. So I am not worried about Miss Smith. My client is not worried also, so, you know, she's going back to work and trying to do what she needs to do to straighten out her life. Yes, and I hope that Remy becomes the greatest rapper or the greatest star or whatever she wants to be in her life. And hopefully we can put all of this behind. And hopefully they can reconcile. Yes. Hopefully at one point you can have all of us on your show.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Sitting down talking about reconciliation.
Yeah.
Yes. I hope so.
I hope so too. And this is why I tell you I admire Lauren. She's about the people. She's for the people. Also an author.
Yes.
Of this book, Living the Wealthy Life. I'm going to show you all this book here. Where do I start? This book came at the right time. I'm reading it now. I'm still reading it because you say at the beginning that you have to read the rules a couple of times before you move on to the principles, you know.
That's good.
I'm reading. This book here is it reads very well. It's like it's a personal conversation. This book is a guidebook that I'm telling you, you all must have it. It's very practical. I read it every day. I'm stuck on rule number 8. You know what rule number 8 is?
Absolutely. Yeah. Rule number 8. Understand that life is as hard as you make it.
I read that rule every day.
Why?
It's a great reminder because I'm working smarter and not harder. Right. And this reminds me of that. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't have to be hard. It's as hard as I make it. So, you know, right. If I want to go up the block, around the corner, spin around 3 times, that's because that's what I choose. Right. And I'm understanding, and I could just go straight.
Correct.
And I read this because it reminds me that I don't have to work so hard. I have to be disciplined, yes. But making it hard, no. And you remind me of that in this guide. I like to call it a guide. You know, 18 principles to achieving success, prosperity, and happiness.
Yes.
You are living this life. I see you living this life. Why'd you write this book? Why?
Well, one of the reasons for writing the book was about the case involving Remy Ma.
Oh.
What I wanted to do was be part of the solution and not part of the problem. So I always compete. So what I'm trying to do is compete with the negativity that's out there. So, for example, I say instead of being a JD, instead of competing or listening to a Jay-Z, you now can listen to a JD.
Which is, tell everyone what JD is.
Juris Doctorate, which is, I'm a lawyer. So the most important thing is that we have a positive with the negative. And let me just say this, I'm not an attacker of Jay-Z. I actually like some of his music. So, and I do listen to some of his music, especially the one that says he's all grown up. So I actually like that. But the fact of the matter is, and New York, the fact of the matter is this is about the moral compass of a wealthy life. So it's really teaching young people and people who may not understand this aspect. And it's not just people of color. I talk about Madoff in the book. I mean, he needs to be in jail reading this over and over again.
Yes, and Martha Stewart. You're also
Martha
talking
Stewart.
about Martha Stewart in this book.
Everybody's doing a bid these days.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So this is about a moral compass for all of those to follow, where they put wealth ahead of people, wealth ahead of society. Because you're part of this world that you're supposed to make it better than what it was when you came to this earth. So these principles, they need to know this. For example, I talk about specific principles that take away from your success, that derail your success. And we want people to know this early on in their careers. What are the things that derail success? And if you have an idea of some of them, one of the ones, and I don't know if you want me to pick out one or what would you like me to do?
What we like the people to do is purchase the book. Purchase the book and
do we want them to do that?
I love
Yes,
the cover on the book. Why do you have Living the Wealthy Life on top of a silver platter?
Well, I have a sense of humor. And I know that this is the fastest generation with the fastest information, and they get it like automatically. So I figured what I do is I put together some simple principles, and I hand it to whoever reads it out there, whoever needs to have help with success. I'm handing it to you on a silver platter.
And that's nice. That's nice. And
I thought that was cute.
I think it's very cute. I like that with the white glove.
Yes, right.
It looks very wealthy, you know?
Yeah.
Why 18 principles as opposed to 6? Why it had to be 18?
Well, 18 is, again, it's that thought process of 18 is the age of maturity.
Oh. Okay.
So what I thought I would do is say, after you read this book and study the 18 principles, this would fast forward on a silver platter your maturity in life. So I'm giving this as the 18 principles. That's why I use 18.
Okay, I like that. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Make sure you check out on Facebook at the Everyday SuperWoman Show. Also, email us. Let us know your comments, what you think, what you want to see on the Everyday Superwoman Show. You can reach us at everydaysuperwoman@gmail.com. You know what time it is, right, ladies? Put that S on your chest and do what you do best. See you next week.
This is Lauren P. Raysor, and don't forget to put that S on your chest.
Oh, yeah.